Hi, this is Nancy L.T. Hamilton, and today we're going to be doing a video on making enameled cabochons, which will lead to maybe another video on how to set them. So today we're just going to talk about the enameling part, and we're going to be using my new Pepe combination disc cutter that I just got to make our base for the cabochon. So let's get started. That was a cat. Sorry. Metal. So I'm going to be using copper for this video, 20 gauge I believe. You can use silver, fine silver, sterling silver, gold. I'll have more information on what metals to use on my website. Enamels. There are many different kinds of enamels, and we are going to be working with medium expansion enamels today. Enamels very briefly come in three different forms. There's soft, medium, and hard, and that refers to their firing abilities. Soft being a really quick to melt metal, or quick to, that's not the right word, but it'll work for now. So I'm going to start, and we're going to use our new Pepe disc cutter to make the cabochon. So we're going to get involved in that now. So now we're going to take our 20 gauge metal and we're going to make a disc. Here's my 20 gauge copper. With the Pepetools combination cutter that comes with a 95A, I think, thermometer thingy, plasticky thingy that I can't remember the name of, urethane. And so you want to put that under. It helps deaden the noise and protects from some vibration, but this is still pretty noisy, especially with 20 gauge. This type of cutter opens and closes, and you want it to close because it holds the metal tight. Therefore you can hit it a couple times without having shadows of the prior hits. If you've ever used one of these before, you know what I'm talking about. So I slide the metal in, I make sure that there's no like edges, you know, you don't want to see that. You want to make sure that the metal is all the way in squarely. And then I'm going to close it down here by turning it clockwise. And that holds the metal in, so you can't get it out. It's not going to move when I hammer it. We're going to be using the 7/8 punch. So the black end is the part that does not cut. This is the part that you're going to hammer on. And this is the cutting surface, which has a lot of lubricant. You always want to use lubricant. It keeps these sharp much longer. So I've got my little Peppy lube, and I'm going to lubricate it like so. So this is a very loud operation, and if you want to protect your hearing, these suckers, and you want to give it as big a whack. I can't hear you. What'd you say? You want to give it a really hard whack if you can. Use either a big leather mallet or a steel shot-filled mallet or a brass mallet, but I like my rod. And you want to hit it straight on. You don't want to come in at an angle like this. So ready, get set, and here we go. So to remove the punch, you just lift up and it slides through, and there's our little disc. So now we are ready to go on to forming that disc, and I'm going to get set up. Just a little quick warning, when this is not really a warning, I don't know what this is. WD-40 is not good for your steel tools. It's a corrosive oil, so don't use it on your tools. 3-in-1 oil would be a better choice, and I mention that because sometimes you need to wipe your tools down with oil, like the disc cutter or the dapping block that we're going to use. So don't use WD-40. Okay, here's our disc, and it has I know you can't feel this, can you? There's a little rough edge here from the cutting. So you can either use, I like half rounds because they have both round and flat sides. And just, you can go around and take that off with this, with a file. Noisy arm I have today. Clank, 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 clank. And I'm rolling it around with my fingers. And then I would go in and I'm going to roll this too. This is 220 sandpaper, I think. Wait, no, I think it's 320. I have no idea what it is. It's rough. Stop! And I'm just kind of dragging the edge along here. to take off that burr that's on here. And that should be good enough. So now we're ready to dome. And I'm going to use the urethane that came with the Pepe disc cutter. And I'm putting the disc in a biggish hole. I'm only going to use one size dap on this, which is smaller than this area, but not real tiny. So I don't want to come in with something like this. Okay, I want something that more fills the hole. So I'm going to use my trusty mallet again and give it a couple of whacks. This is 20 gauge, so it's a little harder to dome. And if I had nailed it too, it would have been a lot easier. So that's about all I want to get on the... No, actually I might do a little more. So I'm going to go anneal this and then go to the next hole here with a smaller punch. But I don't want to dome it too much. You can do whatever you want. You can make huge high domes if you want for your cabochons. But for what I'm doing, I'm just going to dome it a little bit more. We've already done a video on this, so I'm not going to make you watch it again. So I'm going to go do that. Okay, now we're going on to the fun part. I've got my disc. What we need to do with enamel, there's this, what is it called? Something coefficient. I just totally forgot. Expansion coefficient. Enamel's glass and has to have certain little special things so that it doesn't crack. And what we need to do when you enamel something is you enamel both sides. It's the back side is called counter enameling, and you can use, especially for this project, you can use any kind of, like if you have a pile of old scrap enamel, you can use that on the back here. But I'm going to stick with just the black. I'm going to put probably 2 to 3 coats on the back of this before I even work on the front to help keep the top part from cracking. Couple tools that you'll need and supplies. This is Clearfire, and it's a let me see if I can remember this. Ethyl methyl cellulose, which is I think basically like plant fiber, blah blah blah, and water. And so what you do is you mix 50% of this to 50% of water in, I use these little medicine cups because they have the milliliters or grams or ounces on it. So I can do, you know, my 50% water, 50% Clearfire. So mix it together. And then you need a trivet to fire on. We are going to be kiln firing. We are not doing torch firing today. So my kiln is on, and it's always going to be a little slightly different depending on your kiln. I found for me, I set mine at 1450 Fahrenheit, and for 3 minutes, and it's pretty much spot on for perfect melt for me. So you have to play around with your kiln and see, you know, what your perfect temperature and time are together. Adding elements into the kiln, like putting more than one piece, or putting in a firing screen that's heavy steel, that'll act as a heat sink, and it'll take probably a little longer. The thickness of your metal will affect it, the type of metal will affect it, the type of enamel will affect it. So it's a crapshoot. So anyway, we got our trivet, we got our Clearfire, we have our little sifter. This is I think 80 grain grit. Oh, this is opaque enamel. It's number 1996 from Thompson. With opaque enamels, you don't have to wash them or separate the meshes. You can just use it as is from here, which is very nice for me because I'm the not so lazy jeweler. So this piece has 2 coats, I believe, of counter enamel, and I'm just going to show you how I do it. I'm sure there's 67 other ways. By the way, this metal and my hands are free of grease. I torch cleaned this, as I like to call it, so I heated it with a torch and then pickled it. So I'm going to just put it in here, and I'm going to paint the Clearfire all over the inside and around the edges. Don't worry about the edges too much on this project because a bezel that we're going to be making in the next video maybe will cover those, but right now we're just going to do that. And then you come in and grab your enamel, put on your mask. I hate these things. There goes my hair. Okay, and I grab a scoop of this, and then I see I'm doing it on newspaper, by the way. That's so that I can collect the overage and pour it back in. So I'm kind of trying to put an even coat. That's the deal. You don't want it real thin. I don't want to see metal through it. And you don't want it real thick. And I started on the outside first. So that's kind of okay. If I wanted to do these edges, I think I'll show you how to do that. Let me get set up for that. So I'll be back in a second. And I'm going to take this mask off. So I have my little world-centric compostable spoon here. And I just put a little bit of the enamel in. I'm going to soak my brush and run some Clearfire down the sides. And I also have a teeny brush. No, this isn't enough, I don't think. It'll be enough. So this is if you want to put some on the edges. It's a wet packing, kind of, sort of. And so you want the right composition of Clearfire and enamel. And you just go around and paint your edges like this. So if you're really into covering them all, or you know, if you're going to do something else down the road besides make these little cabochons. So basically just do that all the way around. And then what we're going to do is, when we've got it all set